Comebacks are incredibly difficult, and when it comes to the Stanley Cup Finals, if a team usually goes down 3-0, this one's pretty much a lock. In fact, the last time a team even threatened to come back from this kind of deficit was back in the 1944-45 season, when the Detroit Red Wings nearly climbed back in that series against the Toronto Maple Leafs to win a Stanley Cup. Unfortunately, the Maple Leafs were able to close that one out, preventing any sort of comeback from occurring. Well, fast forward to today, and we are now seeing history repeat itself as the Edmonton Oilers find themselves back in this series, forcing a Game 7 after a massive win at home in Game 6. Will the Edmonton Oilers complete this crazy comeback, or will the Florida Panthers finally close this one out? Well, welcome back to the channel. A thrilling Game 6 is in the books, and the Edmonton Oilers have officially tied this one up, forcing a Game 7 against the Panthers. And if you're a Panthers fan, you got to be scratching your head right now thinking, how did my team get themselves in this situation? Well, today I'm going to explain what exactly is going on with the Florida Panthers and how the Edmonton Oilers rallied themselves to get back in this series. So if you guys have been liking the coverage of the finals and the content lately, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps me get these videos to more people and let you guys know when I post some of this content. So let's get right into this video. Well, what if I told you that I feel like the Edmonton Oilers should have already won this series? If you take a look back to Game 1, Sergei Bobrovsky was standing on his head and really allowed the Florida Panthers to get away from a victory that they probably shouldn't have had. He had a perfect game that night, stopping all 32 shots, and even played very well in Games 2 and 3. But since Game 4, Sergei Bobrovsky has not looked like himself, posting a .688 save percentage and a .826 save percentage in the next two, and then last night only stopping 16 shots for a .842 save percentage on the night. Now, Sergei Bobrovsky's play was the most important thing for the Florida Panthers in this series, because when we talk about offenses, I think it's pretty clear that the Edmonton Oilers have the upper hand in this category, and when we talked about the goaltending matchup, I think everyone would have picked Sergei Bobrovsky over Stuart Skinner in this series. But taking a look at Stuart Skinner's numbers in this one compared to what we all probably expected, you will be very dumbfounded to find out that he's been playing some of the best goaltending of his career. Since Game 4, Stuart Skinner has now posted a .970 save percentage, a .906 save percentage, and then last night a .952 save percentage. He's made some pretty high quality saves and is truly just out-dueling Sergei Bobrovsky both at home and on the road. Now, I'm not sure what's caused Sergei Bobrovsky to go into this slump, whether it's the Edmonton Oilers offense just figuring out his weaknesses, or maybe just their defense not playing so well in front of him. Sergei Bobrovsky really needs to turn things around if the Florida Panthers stand any chance in Game 7 after those 3 demoralizing losses. But Sergei Bobrovsky isn't the only one to blame in this one. Florida's commitment to all-around defensive play has quickly evaporated in this one. Some of their top guys have become ghosts. Montour, Forsling isn't looking like himself, and the Edmonton Oilers have now had 3 games in a row where they've scored 5 goals or more, and that's just not something that this Florida Panthers offense can keep up with, despite all of the talent that they have on their top lines. The Edmonton Oilers are also getting an insane amount of scoring from their depth, having 1 goal from each line on the night in Game 6. Now, right now, the Florida Panthers are in a do-or-die situation, and it just feels like the Edmonton Oilers are in a much better position to win Game 7 because they now have all of the momentum over the Florida Panthers in this next game. And I think that this is having a huge effect on some of Florida's stars, and whether that's the Oilers defense just stepping up in this series or them just going through some kind of cold streak that's preventing them from getting their offense going, either way, they need to find a way to show up big time in this next game, because this is your last chance to close this one out, and I feel like they will be on the wrong side of history yet again if they somehow get reverse swept by the Oilers. Like I said, they are 0 for 11 on the power play through the past 3 games, and during last night's third period, they didn't get a single shot on that final power play opportunity against Stuart Skinner. And in those big time moments where you need to get your team's momentum going, that's a perfect opportunity to establish yourself and prepare your offense for the next game. Because despite being down in Game 6, you still want to find your offensive identity there so that you can carry it into Game 7 and feel more confident in that next matchup. But unfortunately for the Panthers, they just can't get anything going, and that Oilers defense is looking like they're in their prime at this point, preventing their offense from getting a puck even close to Stuart Skinner. Now, something that's gone underappreciated for the Edmonton Oilers is how well they've been able to manage the star players' productions for every team they faced in this year's postseason. And let's start with the LA Kings, for instance. Anze Kopitar is a massive postseason player, but in that series against the Edmonton Oilers, he was held without a point for over 4 games. The same can be said for other stars in the other series that the Edmonton Oilers played. The next one would be the Vancouver Canucks. JT Miller had 103 points in the regular season, but was held without a point in 3 of the 7 games of that second round. And the last one is Jason Robertson, who did have a hat trick in game 2 of the WCFs, but he did not record a point in the final 3 games against the Oilers. And after game 6, if you look back at some of the other games, you can see that Barkov and Tkachuk were both held off the score sheet in 3 of these 6 games. The Oilers' game plan is clearly to force the other team's depth to score by preventing their star players, by putting all of their defensive efforts into those line matchups, which has really proven to be successful for this team as they've gone throughout the postseason. So sort of to summarize everything for the Florida Panthers, it's been the disappearance of their stars, especially Sergei Bobrovsky in these last 3 matchups, and their inability to slow down that high-powered offense and special team nature of the Edmonton Oilers. And for the Edmonton Oilers, it's really been Connor McDavid, his leadership, and their ability to get depth scoring throughout their entire lineup, putting the Panthers in a difficult situation where they just can't stop any pucks from going in the back of the net and can't keep up with the offense, leading to multiple victories for Edmonton. But let's talk about Game 7 and some players who I feel like are going to be crucial to a victory for both sides. So let's start with the Florida Panthers and Sergei Bobrovsky. And you might be saying, well, isn't Sergei Bobrovsky a star? Well, yes, but he's one of those stars that has been so back and forth in this series that I feel like he's going to have the biggest impact in this game for the Panthers. In multiple series in this postseason, whether it was against the Lightning and Vasilevsky, the Bruins and Swayman, or the Rangers and Shesterkin, Sergei Bobrovsky has outdueled every single netminder across the ice from him. But in this series, it just feels like he can't produce enough, or maybe he's just slowed down from all that he's had to do over the past 2 years for the Panthers, that his age is just finally showing, and maybe this slump is going to be the one that does the Panthers in. So I feel like if he can show up big time in this game and just put up one more big time performance, then the Edmonton Oilers will not be able to get pucks by him, and that will help the Panthers win. As for the Edmonton Oilers, I feel like the biggest impact player for them is going to be Leon Draisaitl. I know that he's injured and that's clearly affecting his game, but that assist he had last game really looked like it rallied the Oilers in that matchup and helped them get on the board early to kind of solidify the momentum that they had going into this game. I think if Draisaitl can come out and have a breakthrough offensively in Game 7, then the Edmonton Oilers don't stand a chance of losing this game, considering all the momentum that they already have. But last thing I want to touch on in this one, somebody asked me a question saying, what's going to be the headline after Game 7? Is it going to be the comeback for the Edmonton Oilers or the 2 seasons of losing a Stanley Cup final for the Florida Panthers? And I feel like it's a little bit of both. Sometimes when we talk about pro sports, we're always talking about how teams need to have that true star. And when you look at both of these teams, yes, Matthew Tkachuk is an all-star in the NHL, but he's not on the same level as Connor McDavid. And I feel like if McDavid can lead this team back from a 3-0 deficit, clearly the bigger headline is going to be Connor McDavid winning his first cup and doing it in such a star-studded fashion, coming back from 3-0. But Game 6 was fantastic. I'm incredibly excited for Game 7. I've been on the Oilers train since the Cup Finals started, and I'm not giving up on them. I know they got this one in 7 after the momentum shift, but I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about Game 6? What was the biggest mistake and biggest success story from that game? And who do you have winning in Game 7? Again, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and like this video for more content. It really helps me out and gets my video out to more people so that they can see the style of content. I will see you guys in the next one.